Alright, what's going on, guys? Trev back again, here to bring you another video. This one's going to be a non-spoiler review for The Dark Knight Rises. It is right now 4 a.m. Just got back from the midnight showing pretty much. And so yeah, I'm going to do a couple videos about this. The three that I've decided on already, of course, non-spoiler review, this one. I'm going to do one that's like an in-depth analysis of the movie, and then I'm going to do a Dark Knight Rises versus The Dark Knight and give my opinions on which one I think is better. Seeing as how everybody's sort of been comparing it to, The Dark Knight because The Dark Knight was so amazing. I mean, people... the worship of Heath Ledger in that movie playing the Joker is amazing. That people still, are just worship the freaking guy for it. Me included, of course. Yeah, and so coming up off The Dark Knight, The Dark Knight Rises, the bar was set so high that I think a lot of people just instinctively thought there's no way it could be better. There's no way it could be better. And I'll get a lot more into detail about this when I do a video actually comparing the two, closer. But in terms of whether or not I think it's better than The Dark Knight, I'm going to say that no, I don't think it is, but I think it's really close. I think it's closer than a lot of people thought it would be. I think it's better than Batman Begins. I do think it's better than Batman Begins. And also, too, it makes the whole trilogy feel like one big, long, congruent story, which is good because, a lot of times you get movies and stuff that, they're so episodic that you'll have one, after the other and it won't really relate back to the others too much. The Dark Knight Rises relates back to Batman Begins and The Dark Knight a lot. It hits on a lot of different plot points that were set up, in Batman Begins, in The Dark Knight, and sort of expands on them further, and then seals the deal at the end of the trilogy. And I think it does a great job of that. I mean, it is a pretty long movie. It's like 2 hours and 44 minutes. So that is pretty long, almost 3 hours there. You get into that territory where people, I mean, a lot of movies come out these days are an hour and a half, and even in some of those, there's some filler and there's some parts that are like, you could take those out. The Dark Knight Rises is very dense. There's a lot happening. There's a lot of action, straight from start to finish. It's very heavy in terms of the action, the psychology, the philosophical implications of the choices that the characters make. You have a lot more characters, for example, like in the previous films. I feel like there's more, main characters in The Dark Knight Rises than there was in either of the other two. And being as that there's so many characters, there's a lot of different angles and a lot of different things happening, and it's very dense. I mean, it's the type of thing that even though it's almost 3 hours, I mean, you could cut it a bit, but without taking characters out completely, it'd be really hard to shrink it down a lot. I mean, maybe you could cut it down to 2 hours, but it'd be taking out a lot, and it really feels to me like it's worth it because it's the final movie in the trilogy. It's sealing the deal. It's bringing everything back to the beginning again. Relating a lot of themes back to Batman Begins, some to The Dark Knight. One thing I have to mention: there's almost no mention of the Joker at all. The Joker and Heath Ledger, well, I shouldn't say Heath Ledger, but the Joker, the character in the story, it really doesn't have any implications for The Dark Knight Rises. Whereas Batman Begins, a lot of The Dark Knight Rises relates back, and this movie actually feels closer to Batman Begins than it does to The Dark Knight. A lot closer to Batman Begins than it does to The Dark Knight because of the fact that not a lot of it relates back to what the Joker did, and a little bit to Harvey Dent, but not a lot to the Joker. A lot of it goes back to Ra's al Ghul and these kinds of things. Now, I'm not spoiling anything because this was all known in the trailers beforehand. All of this. It is pretty close to Nightfall in the comic books, which is one of the best Batman stories I think ever, but I think it's even better than Nightfall. I think it takes Nightfall, it takes a lot of things that Nightfall does really well and are really interesting from it, and it actually improves it and makes it even better. Yeah, I can say that. So I absolutely loved it. Was it a letdown? I saw a couple people online, there was a couple websites that were saying that it's a letdown or it's not as good as the others or people maybe. I just think people might have hyped it up to a level that's impossible to reach. I mean, in comparison to other comic book movies and that kind of stuff, I thought it was amazing. I thought it was fantastic. And also, I think this is probably the right time to cap it off because a lot of the things that were happening in The Dark Knight Rises, it looked like so similar to some of the other films. I was thinking to myself, like, I think it's a good idea for them to end it here, with a trilogy, because if they were to try to do a fourth and a fifth film, it might look too repetitive, because a lot of it has the same feel. You have a lot of like chase scenes and different things like that, and they feel very similar to The Dark Knight and Batman Begins with that. And you don't want to, have a movie series go on for so long that it feels like it's getting repetitive. So this is good because even though it, like, you're kind of watching and you think, I've seen this before, or I've seen something like this before, there's still a new twist on it. There's still a new twist on everything that's happening, and it does feel fresh, but at the same time, I think a lot of people will realize that, okay, you don't want to keep going like this and make another 2 movies or something, or try to. It just probably wouldn't work out. So in terms of, ending the trilogy and the curse of the third, the curse of the trilogy, the third movie in a trilogy, they beat it. They beat the curse. Christopher Nolan, Christian Bale, everybody else involved with the project, everyone, they did it. They accomplished their goal. They made an amazing movie that definitely you should see if you're considering it. I don't know if people are saying it's a letdown. I think they're crazy. I think they're absolutely nuts. I think it's a letdown. It's amazing. Absolutely amazing. In terms of a score, if The Dark Knight is a 10 and Batman Begins is a 9, then the Dark Knight Rises would be a 9.5. In between the two, and very well done. And in terms of comparing it to other superhero movies, I mean, it's amazing. Just absolutely amazing. So I loved it. So that's giving it a score. Talking about the movie, in terms of the fight scenes and action, there's a lot of action in the movie. There's better fight scenes in The Dark Knight Rises than there was in The Dark Knight. And Batman Begins actually got a lot of criticism too because there weren't too many fight scenes in it either. Not that many. There was a couple, but it was pretty limited. This had even better action and fight scenes than either of the other two. The story is amazing, very plot heavy, very interesting. You could watch it a couple times. It's sort of is one of those movies, just like The Dark Knight, where it's got a lot of rewatchability, replayability. You can watch it probably 3, 4, 5 times and still pick up new stuff as you're watching it afterwards. And to me, that's a sign of a very good, complex story, is when if you watch it over again a couple times, you're picking up new things as you're watching. You're seeing, oh, this is happening here, but this is, and you're sort of drawing conclusions between different things, and it just becomes clearer because there's so much happening that, in 3 hours and so dense, you're probably going to want to watch it a couple times to really digest and understand all of the story and the plot, which is awesome. What else? The sound, you've got Zimmer back again, Hans Zimmer. So, of course, that's going to be great. A couple nitpicks without spoiling anything. Tom Hardy's Bane is great. He's awesome. I kind of knew they were going to do this before. There was a lot of criticism that he wasn't big enough to play Bane, and he actually isn't. He's only like 100. I think he's about 180 pounds, and then lifting and weight training, getting up there. He's still. I don't even think he's 200 pounds. So he's a little small to play Bane. Yeah, he is. But the way they shot it and the angles, zooming in and that kind of stuff, really makes him look big. And that's good. And a lot of times he's wearing, he'll be wearing his coat or he'll be wearing something. And for the screen, he looks huge, so it works perfect. He looks really, really big, even though in reality he's not actually, that big. A lot of people were saying, oh, Bane should be humongous and all that stuff. It worked out. It was okay. Like watching the movie, unless you actually look up online how much he weighs and see how big he is in real life, you wouldn't know because the angles and the close-ups and the shots, man, he's pretty terrifying too in the movie. He really does a good job. It takes a lot of the best of both Begins and The Dark Knight and puts it into one. It's like a combination of the two put into one movie with some fresh new things. So I think that's great. You've got Bane, who's a lot like the Joker, and then you've got a plot that's a lot like Begins, similar in a lot of ways, but different too. and mixing them together, it just feels like a great formula and a great way to end the series. Talking about, so Tom is great. He does an awesome job. He's very intimidating and very scary and big, and everything is good with that. He plays a great Bane, definitely the best Bane we've ever had. Yeah. And Anne Hathaway is Catwoman. Now this was one that right off the bat I was like, oh man, like I don't know, dude. Her playing Catwoman, man. I don't know, because I remember her from like the Princess Diaries and stuff, and yes, my girlfriend likes that movie. I have seen it. Just once though. Luckily, it's a Twilight thing. You guys know what I'm talking about. She comes to see Batman with me. Sometimes I gotta watch Twilight. I gotta watch the Princess Diaries. But anyway, she's just very clean looking. She's just too goody two shoes looking. Maybe I'm typecasting because of her roles in the past, but to me, I just feel like she's a bad choice for Catwoman. I even after watching the movie, I still gotta say she's a great actress. She does an amazing job in the movie. Does the best she can. I just don't like her for the role. I still don't. I still don't like her for the role. I think that they probably could have benefited from somebody that didn't look, so clean cut and all that kind of stuff. It just would have made more sense. I think. Christian Bale's Batman's always amazing, and Bruce. Michael Caine as Alfred, man, he's got some really touching scenes in this one. That's for sure. Probably the most touching in all of the Batman films so far, I'd say so for sure. Going on, Morgan Freeman as Lucius Fox always does a good job. His role in this one is much like it is in the others. He's more of like a supporting role, and he doesn't really do too much. He's there. Morgan Freeman does a great job. You guys know how it is. Jim Gordon in this movie has Gary Oldman has about as big of a role as he does in the others as well. Yeah, I mean, kind of similar. And of course, he does a great job too. He is the iconic Gordon to me. When I think of Gordon, I think of either the Batman the Animated Series, Jim Gordon, or Gary Oldman as Jim Gordon. He does an awesome job. And there are a lot of other characters in there too. Joseph Gordon-Levitt does a great job playing John Blake. Very, very good job. And he's one of the ones, too, that, I mean, I guess you could take, he's not absolutely essential to the story. If you wanted to shrink the story down, you could take him out. But he's a great actor. And he does a good job in this movie of playing, you're like your straight-edge cop. And he does, the story does benefit, and the movie does benefit from him being in it. If you guys have seen 50-50, which is an amazing movie, you should check it out. He plays the lead role in that movie. And he's just a great actor. I think he's a fantastic actor. So he does a good job, too. And I think that's pretty much everybody that I want to mention and not get into spoilers. Yeah, that's pretty much it. So that's going on about 12 minutes for a non-spoiler version. Jesus, my spoiler version of my review of my spoiler version is going to be like an hour long. I'm going to do it anyway. Even if no one watches, I don't even care. I'm just going to do it anyway. Anyway, so I love the movie. Is it a letdown? Hell no, it's not a letdown. God damn it. It's amazing. It's freaking awesome. The trilogy was great. I loved it. My favorite trilogy of movies ever. Bar none. Not even just comic book, just favorite ever. And this one is number 2. So probably, I could say my second favorite movie of all time. Second favorite. So I'm stoked. Probably going to go watch it a few more times. Maybe 2 or 3 more times. I saw The Dark Knight like 7 times. But I don't think I'll see this that many times. But I'll definitely see it probably once or twice more. Because this is a bit longer and yeah. Anyway, I'll end it here, guys. Let me know what you guys thought. And oh, in the comments, no spoilers. I swear to God, last time I did a video, I said no spoilers in the video. And people were writing in like spoilers like below, trolling. And I'm like, okay, alright, here's what I'm going to do. Any of you guys who have not seen the movie yet, don't even read the comments because they're going to be spoilers, okay? And I can't really disable the comments because it's bad for the video. So, don't read the comments, okay, if you're worried about spoilers. Just leave now. Get out. Get out of here. Later, guys. Peace.